evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for pro wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. Now, for those of you who watch the podcast every day, firstly, shout out to you, but secondly, you've probably noticed that I've been gone for the last few days, and that is because I was over in London with Chaos for Money in the Bank and SmackDown, and wow, they were some phenomenal shows, and I absolutely had a blast there. But I am back now, and today I will be talking about WrestleMania possibly coming to the UK, as well as my thoughts on Balor versus Rollins, as I seem to be disagreeing with quite a lot of people about that match. And then, of course, as regularly scheduled on a Sunday show, we'll be talking about All Elite Wrestling's new weekly show, AEW Collision. But firstly, let me introduce the co-host of the podcast and the man who's done a phenomenal job the last 3 days at hosting the show, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing well. It's funny to be on the other side. I had to let you get through the whole intro this time. I was getting used to doing the intros myself, but I think you did an excellent job. And I'm stoked to be back once again on July 2nd. I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot better than back-to-back weekends of premium live event and pay-per-view wrestling on top of not half of us, but Chaos and Ben going to the event. This has just been a fun stretch of weeks in the wrestling business, and I'm excited to get into it, both AEW and the fallout from Money in the Bank.
Absolutely. We have a stacked show here. And also joining us, we have the head of opinions here at Wrestling Republic, Anthony Ricciardi. How are you, Anthony?
Doing all right. It's first time in a while. I've done a couple shows in the same week, so this should be fun.
Absolutely, it should be. And also joining us, we have Ignacio. How are you today, Ignacio?
Pretty damn good. What a crowd yesterday. What a pay-per-view is. There's one thing that WWE does right, man. I have to say that they've been knocking out of the park with their pay-per-view, so can't wait to talk a little bit about it.
Absolutely. It truly was a stacked show, just like this show today will hopefully be. And let's firstly get on to the possibility of WrestleMania coming to the UK. And of course, last night, John Cena made a surprise appearance at the O2 Arena at Money in the Bank. And I popped. I went nuts. I have a WrestleMania vlog, which will be, not WrestleMania, Money in the Bank vlog, which will be coming out on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel tomorrow. And you'll be able to see our pop. It was truly phenomenal. My right ear popped. That's how loud the arena was for John Cena. It was a fantastic surprise. And I'm going to be honest, I was shocked when I, went on social media and listened to the podcast afterwards. And a few people thought that this, John Cena promo was a bit long. Well, from an in-arena perspective, I thought it was the perfect, length. Because every single thing he was saying, we were popping for. It was teasing something. We're like, well, what's this leading to? And then he said, WrestleMania in London. And we went nuts. Walking out of the arena, walking out of the O2 after the show, there were chants saying, "We want Mania." You'll see that on the vlog as well. But there were legitimate chants walking down the streets of London, "We want Mania." People were walking past like, well, what's all this about? I remember we walked into the tube station, me and Chaos, after the show, which is like, it's the London Underground, right? And people were like walking past, like, why on earth is there like 10,000 people, firstly, walking down here? And secondly, why are they doing all these weird chants? It was such a weird, situation, but clearly the UK are hungry for WrestleMania. And this gets on to now, will it happen? Will WrestleMania actually come to London? Will WrestleMania come to the UK? And the reason the John Cena promo likely happened yesterday was to put pressure on cities in the UK to actually bid for WrestleMania, because WWE will not just, they could say, okay, let's run Wembley for WrestleMania. They could do that at any given point, but they're not going to do it unless London or another city in the UK actually bid for it, right? Because that's what they've done for WrestleMania for years now. You've got to bid for it to, come to you, because of course it's a huge thing for tourism, and it's good they do that. It's good business for them. But the one thing which a lot of people are saying is, right, and even Cody Rhodes said it after the show in the press conference. He mentioned the fact that the UK crowd is kind of, rowdy. We kind of say some words which are a bit explicit at times. We certainly do, and there's no denying that. And would that be good for a WrestleMania? The answer is no, it would not. If there's, swearing and all of this at an international event like WrestleMania, that would be bad. It would be bad. It would look bad on WWE. There's a lot of kids that go there. It would not be good for them. But here's the thing. That's not going to happen. Because what you also saw when this happened was everybody, all the Americans, all the people from all over the world were on their phones tweeting, saying that, oh, I've wanted an excuse to go to the UK for years. This is it. This is perfect. I'll go to the UK for WrestleMania. Well, if they do WrestleMania in the UK, that will not be a UK crowd. That will be an international crowd. There'll be more British fans than usual, of course, but it will very much be an international crowd. So I'm not concerned about that at all. I don't think WWE should be concerned about fans swearing and chants and all of that, because if they bring WrestleMania to the UK, that will not be the case. However, there is a slight issue, and it's actually more than a slight issue, and that is the British weather. WrestleMania, of course, is in early April every year. The weather in the UK in early April, usually not that great. Some years it's surprisingly okay, but a lot of years it's not great. And Wembley doesn't have a roof. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is another place where it's rumored to take place from, also does not have a roof. There's only one stadium in the United Kingdom which has a roof, and that's where Clash at the Castle took place from last year, and that is the Principality Stadium in Wales. Now, Wales do spend a lot of money on tourism, so is it out of the question for Wales to actually bid for WrestleMania? No, it's not. But do I think that WWE want London to do it? Yes. London, you can travel to London from anywhere in the UK very easily. To get to Cardiff from a lot of places, you've got to travel to London and then to Cardiff from there. So I think WWE, from a tourism perspective, and for just make things easier, want London. They want Wembley. It's a risk to run Wembley because of the weather, like I said. But I think that is what they want. So people are saying, well, we really need to pressure WWE now to do it. I think WWE realistically know the crowd won't be an issue because it would be an international crowd, right? What I think they're more concerned about is whether or not they will be paid for it, whether or not London are up for paying the money and bidding for the event. And I think that was why John Cena came out last night and cut this promo. But Clark, do you realistically think WrestleMania could be coming to the UK? Because, of course, we know where WrestleMania is next year. It's in Philadelphia, right? Shout out to Anthony, who we'll get onto in just a minute. But we don't know where it is the year after that, and we don't know where it is the year after that. We know the year after that, in 2027, I think. We know it's in Nashville, but 2025 and 2026, we don't know yet. So, Clark, what do you think?
So this is fascinating to me, and especially being American, I have a unique perspective on this because I'm not from the UK, but I would love to travel to this event, and I love the UK crowds and the passion. You mentioned the cursing and whatnot. I found that most interesting about what you brought up. If we look back even to this year, WrestleMania at SoFi, back-to-back nights of 80,000 fans. It's one of the most unique crowds you'll see at any wrestling event because it's, I don't know the exact figures, but I'd call it 50+% corporate. And then some figure beneath that, passionate.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're getting pops from certain sections, certain rows in your own section that maybe the casual fan doesn't understand. Right? Yeah. And I do think, to your point, not just an international crowd, but a 50% corporate crowd.
Yeah.
We'll take that off the table. Right? And I'm not trying to go a step further, but that's just the case. Sponsor tickets. We saw how much sponsorship did for this year's WrestleMania. They're going to double down on that. That kind of revenue, they're not just going to leave on the table anymore. If you think the last time you saw Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Prime or a movie trailer at a WrestleMania was this year, you're out of your mind. They're never going to stop doing that. That revenue stream is key to all of this. On top of the bid, no matter what, whether the building is roofed or not, they just have to organize it so that the event can go off. I understand where you're coming from on Wembley. Let's build a roof over the ring. Do something.
Yeah, they could do it. They could do it over the ring, but they couldn't do it right. And of course,
Over the fans.
you know what it's like with the wind. If the wind comes in when it's raining, it blows
Right.
into the ring, and then health and safety comes in, and you can't do the event. And
And
that's actually the risk for all in, and it's a risk which not many people are talking about. We don't actually know for a fact if All In. Everybody could arrive at All In, and then it's not able to happen. That is still a possibility, which is still slightly scaring me. But the fact is, it's still in summer.
There is precedent. So WrestleMania 37,
Yeah.
Raymond James Stadium, lightning storms delay the Bucks games, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers games, nearly 2 to 3 times a year, if not more than that, right? At least delay it because of the threat of thunderstorms. It happened. We saw the commentary in ponchos. We saw fans that were allowed in there. It was only 50% capacity at that one in ponchos as well. But then the show went off, and we remembered a lot of it fondly, other than poor Mandy Rose slipping on the entrance ramp. But at the same time, I hear where you're coming from. I do think it's a logistics thing that is solvable enough. Given that passion we heard last night in that arena, how many fans will buy tickets? The tourism, the week-long, you're adding SmackDown, Raw, likely a takeover, ticket sales there. Whatever you got to do to figure it out, whether it is in Cardiff, whether it is in London, whether it's in a roofed arena, whether you got to build a roof on arena. Like Nike says, just do it.
Yeah.
And get it figured out.
With Wembley, it's impossible to build a roof on top. With the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it might be possible. However, both me and Chaos have said we will refuse to go to the show if it takes place in such a place that stinks as bad as the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Right? We refuse to step foot in Tottenham. It's just like the crowd were chanting last night, and I'm not sure if I'm not sure if you guys shared it on TV, but there's an Arsenal chant, right? We are for the Tottenham fans, and it's, what do we think of Tottenham? An explicit word beginning with S. What do we think of that explicit word beginning with S? Tottenham. Thank you. That's all right. We hate Tottenham. We hate Tottenham. And then the fans were doing it for Roman last night, and then it actually turned into a "We hate Tottenham" chant as well, which was my highlight of the show. It really was. But we have some comments here. We got Soul in the comments, and Soul is saying WrestleMania should come to Scotland because he doesn't want to come to England because the tap water there tastes disgusting. I mean, actually, Soul, I 100% agree with you. The tap water in England is disgusting. Yeah, he's Soul saying maybe Aberdeen. I mean, it is the same issue, really. I mean, that's even harder to get to. And again, there's no roof. David saying if they run Aberdeen, they'll never run a UK show again. And Chaos is in the comments saying no one would understand any of the chants if Scotland got it. And Soul saying that's discrimination, Chaos. HR will be on you. Well, Clark,
send that up the chain of command. We'll send that up the chain of command.
Oh no, but anyway, I mean, what about you, Ignacio? Do you think that it's possible that a WrestleMania could come to the United Kingdom?
Well, let me give you a couple of follow-up questions. So, when you say the weather gets bad, like, what do you mean by the weather? But it's heavy rain.
Yeah, heavy rain.
Still snowing or
heavy rain.
Heavy rain. Oh, I think. Look, I don't think they would have sent John Cena out there, making a ruckus with the crowd if they at least don't have an idea of the logistics and the weather and things like that in any of the arenas there. I don't think they would have sent John Cena out there to rile up the crowd if they don't have an idea of where they want to go. And obviously they want to encourage the political realm within London and the UK to start bidding for WrestleMania, because obviously they are interested, or else they wouldn't have had Cena address the crowd for it. That's my idea of it. So yeah, it's about time that they do something out there at WrestleMania. I think Clash of the Castle was kind of like we'll see what happens and see if is a general interest. And obviously there is with that pay-per-view, now with this pay-per-view. And it's like you said, it's going to be an international event. WWE's been contemplating doing a WrestleMania internationally for years and years. I mean, other than Canada, I know at one point they wanted to do like Mexico City, Japan. They talked about around several parts of the world, but I think more than anything, London or the UK is probably more doable. And I think, eventually they'll get it. They just need to figure out, like you said, mentioned the weather aspects of it. But I think WWE's people are already thinking about it or have thought about it, and are working on a plan for it. Maybe with some officials in the UK, was for some arena or some stadium, or else they wouldn't even have brought it up. That's my gist of it. Now, will it happen in 2020? Was it 2024, 5? I don't think so. I don't think it'll be that soon. I think we're probably looking 2026, maybe around there.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I do agree. It probably looks like 2026 is a bit more likely. I mean, I would have actually said 2027 if it wasn't that Nashville have already, confirmed that WWE haven't confirmed it, but Nashville have confirmed that they're doing WrestleMania in 2027. But we still don't know the location for this year's. Not this year, sorry. The following year, so WrestleMania 41, which is very interesting to me as well. But now let's take it to the person who's, it'll be his state where WrestleMania is this upcoming year. And that is Anthony Ricciardi from Philadelphia. What do you think, Anthony? Do you think it could be coming to the UK?
Only a possibility. I think it's interesting the fact that, like you said, WWE hasn't confirmed, but if the city confirmed it, it's pretty much a lock that WrestleMania 43 is in Nashville. It's weird that it's come out that early because typically they don't like having any of that stuff out that far in advance. So 41 and 42 are certainly a possibility. I think the fact that they had seen it come out there, WWE's not afraid of not selling out. They don't, that's not the issue. I think you were on the money in the fact that they're trying to push people to make it financially beneficial to them to take on the risk of the weather and everything else. We've had a rain delay at a WrestleMania, which was unheard of. So, I mean, they've done it before. So I think it's a possibility. I do think it's probably more likely. I'm going to say 42. I think 42 is more likely. I don't know about 41. But then again, them bringing Cena out leads you to think maybe there is something to this already. We don't know. It's all going to come down to the money. They like people bidding on events. I know from firsthand experience, Philly's been in the running for WrestleMania for years. We've only had one ever, which was WrestleMania 15. So this at WrestleMania 40 will be the 25th anniversary of the last one we had. But like places like Boston, as far as I know, they've only had one. They had WrestleMania 14. Like there's a lot of places that haven't had more than one. Chicago's had multiple. I think Detroit, they've had at least,
Detroit's
two.
had more than a few, yeah.
Yeah, they've had a few. Florida's had a bunch of them.
Yeah.
California's had a few.
Anaheim had two.
Yes. So they have done multiple locations, but again, everyone bids for it now. WWE treats it like you need to bid for it. We know you want it, but you got to show us you want it. And that's pretty much how they work these things now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's been hugely successful for them as well financially. So, I mean, I just hope it happens. I really, really do. I think I'll say this. If it does come to the UK, I think it'll be the fastest selling at WrestleMania ever. Because like we said, they could sell it out with just UK fans. They could. But they're not going to. Like we said, there's corporate involved. There's going to be a lot of international fans. I think this WrestleMania could near sell out in pre-sale. I think it would be the fastest selling at WrestleMania ever. And I think the one thing which we haven't touched upon is, of course, AEW are running Wembley. So if they were to sell out quicker than AEW, well, AEW still haven't sold out. But if they were to sell out quicker than AEW, that would be, a big power move by WWE as well. And of course, they'll like that, won't they? Because you always like to get one up on your competition, even if you don't want to say they're your competition. We all know in reality, there is competition like there is competition in every industry, right? It's nothing new. But now let's move on to a match yesterday, which I was very excited for. And that was Seth Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor. And I was so excited for this match. The story, I was so into it. I was so hyped up. I was thinking, well, maybe Logan Paul will win a cash in on Seth Rollins after the match. And then once Damian Priest won Money in the Bank, which, by the way, you'll see in the vlog, I was shocked by. I was thinking, well, I mean, maybe Balor wins it and then he cashes in, or maybe, he cashes in on Rollins and gets done what Balor can't get done, or something like that. However, what actually went down, I did not like. I'm going to be honest, I just did not like this match. I thought this was the worst Balor and Rollins match they've had to date. It wasn't bad, maybe that's the wrong word, but it was the least good one. It felt like a TV match almost. And then the Damian Priest tease, I thought it was done all wrong, right? I think if you were going to do it, you shouldn't just have him come out like, in the middle of the match with no entrance music or whatever. Because, yeah, that got a bit of a pop. But then the thing at the end, right, where Balor went to hit the coup de grace and Damian Priest stood up with the briefcase and distracted Finn for a second. That barely got a pop in the arena. Why? Because it's, he just stood up. Like most people in the seats can barely see that. It's not a big enough impact, right? It's not getting the crowd going nuts. It's like, oh, wait a second, is he cashing in? We're not getting that excited for it. What I think they should have done is the exact same thing, but when Balor's on that top rope about to hit the coup de grace, you hear Damian Priest's theme hit, and he's coming down the ramp, distracts Balor, and the exact same thing happens, and then Damian Priest decides not to cash in. I think they should have done the exact same thing, but had him come out with his theme at the end of the match. That would have been a huge pop and would have been a huge moment, and it would have made it a bit more dramatic as well. This felt anticlimactic. I think with commentary and everything on TV, I think it came across better. In the arena, most of us were very, very disappointed by this match, and I thought it was easily the only thing which actually disappointed me on the Money in the Bank card, and that really upset me because I love these two guys. I love these two guys as well, right? But I'll pass it to you first, Anthony. What did you think of Balor versus Rollins? And do you agree with me, or do you think that it was actually good for what it was?
I think going into it, I knew it was going to be a good match. I didn't expect a Balor to win, to be honest. It's unfortunate you looking at Balor now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but out of the Judgment Day, he's probably come out, when everything's said and done with that group, he's probably going to come out the weakest of all of them. I want to see the competitive Finn. Like this version of Finn he hasn't been good, and it's a shame. It's very strange to me that the Finn that we've saw in NXT has never been able to transpire in WWE. It's been a different version. Damian Priest, I've been a fan of his since I saw him in Ring of Honor as Punishment Martinez. I knew he had a lot of talent. It probably would have popped the crowd more with the music playing, the distraction. One of the things in wrestling, though, when people come out, I've always get annoyed with run-ins and stuff like that, where they have to wait for their music to play while they run in. It works for Austin because of the glass smashing and stuff like that. Everyone else, you don't necessarily have to wait for the music. I do agree with you that it probably would have gotten a bigger reaction of Damian, the music hitting and distracting them. From the TV audience, I didn't really have an issue with it because, again, the camera's on Damian, so you're seeing everything. From the in-ring audience, from the in-arena, you're not going to see – you might not necessarily see that. So you assume it's leaving to Balor and Priest. I'm hoping it doesn't turn into a situation, but I think it may. Damian may try to cash in. Balor may cost them again, and they might run with that feud. I don't know where it's going to go with that. But I would assume Finn's days in the Judgment Day, if the stable continues on without him, that's a possibility, or they just disintegrate. But I'm assuming Balor's days are numbered in the group.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I mean, I'm going to make another prediction here, but I'm going to be honest. My predictions have been so wrong for this feud so far that this will probably be wrong as well. But I have a feeling, right? I mean, Damian's got to cash in successfully. It's got to happen. There's been too many recent male winners who, haven't won the title. He's got to win it. And it's also got to be Seth, probably, who he wins against. But my thought process, right, is, well, how, you do this storyline, Finn, they end up turning on Finn. You have the Finn versus Damian Priest feud and all that. And then they have the big blow-off match. And then Finn Balor actually wins that. And then just like they always like to do, after the Money in the Bank winner loses a big match, they cash in. So then Damian Priest is the World Heavyweight Champion, and then they end up, down the line then, maybe near a WrestleMania or something, doing a rematch between Balor and Priest, because of course Balor won last time. And maybe that's when Balor actually does win the World Heavyweight Championship. And maybe that's when he finally gets his moment, which he never got. But at the same time, if that's close to WrestleMania as well, I don't know if they're going to want Finn Balor being champion heading into a WrestleMania. But then again, he's very well known at this point. He does move a lot of merch, and he's been there for 7 years on the main roster now. So I think actually it'd be okay. It's not like there is now 2 world championships, so it's not like there's only one. But Ignacio, what about you? Did you enjoy this match?
Yeah, I actually liked it a lot, as a matter of fact, because I think this match, the way they produced it or the way it was laid out was kind of catering. I don't want to say that this is the audience that they were focused on, but it was kind of catering to, I guess, my style of wrestling, where it's slow, it's methodical, you're telling a story. There, Rollins was selling the ribs throughout the whole match, and that's pretty much what it was based around and focused on, is Finn attacking the ribs in the midsection of Seth Rollins, and building up to the match. You know, the attacks and everything from Balor to Seth Rollins making their way into the match, going into the pay-per-view. I thought it was very good. Now, I like the fact that they didn't rely on a lot of aerial attacks and so forth, like Finn Balor does, his style. It was more of a brawling style, which is supposed to match his character that he is now. Because that's one thing when a quote unquote high flyers or luchadors or guy with a high flying aerial attack. I mean, when you turn heel, you don't want fans cheering your shit. You're a heel. So this kind of changes Finn Balor's style, is more of a brawling style, more of a heel style. But at the same time, I agree with Anthony that his character in the Judgment Day is probably the weakest out of the group, and just hasn't been portrayed as a legitimate. I like his demeanor, I like his wrestling style now, but he just hasn't been portrayed as very strong or formidable opponent for Seth Rollins. So he wasn't really a threat. I mean, I like what they were trying to do, but it's just Finn Balor is really a step down from when he was in past years, because they 50-50 booked the Judgment Day, and I think that's the problem. Like, I'll go into another match and just real quick, and then I'll come back, is that they could have come up with a creative way for Dominic to win over Cody Rhodes, and that wasn't going to hurt Cody Rhodes at all, and it would have gave Dominic more heat. Because right now, like, I think Cody Rhodes is so hot. I mean, you can't bury him. And that would have given Dominic some more heat. They could have built up the Judgment Day even stronger. I don't like the fact that Damian won the Money in the Bank. I'm not a big fan of Damian right now, based mostly because of the 50-50 booking, and he's not allowed to get comfortable on the mic. I think he's over-scripted, and I just don't think he's a very strong person or character to have the briefcase. And I knew he wasn't going to cash it in yesterday. So, but overall, the match, with the exception of the finish, I loved it. I thought it was very, very psychological, very methodical, told a great story. And that's my opinion on that. And just one little thing, not regarding the match, but it's just, and I think Clark might like this. One little thing that I noticed is, and I'm going to ask, because maybe throughout the years, the pay-per-views, maybe I just haven't really paid attention. Was this the first year that they got a beer as a sponsor?
I do actually think that's true. Yes, I do think it is the first beer sponsor. Yes, the Bud Light being the sponsor. I think it's their first official beer sponsor. And the irony is Bud Light was the same for the UFC. So they were UFC's first beer sponsor. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I was shocked, and I knew it had something to do with Endeavor.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's straight from Endeavor, because they've been a partner for years. Yeah, with Anheuser-Busch. Because that's the famous Brock Lesnar promo at UFC 100. He beat Frank Mir. They have Bud Light in the center of the octagon. And he says, I'm going to go home and drink a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me. And so he got fined by the UFC for saying that in the interview. But they've been, in partnership with the UFC back to the Zuffa days all the way through Endeavor. And then, I do believe that is the first beer sponsor officially that we've seen. Unless you count the plugs for the Broken Skull sessions, I guess, on the network. That'd be the only other thing I could think of. But I don't think that counts.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I think you
Chris trying
muted
to get a
Ignacio.
beer sponsor for years.
Yeah, they've needed it for sure.
No, absolutely. I didn't know about that, obviously, watching it in the arena, but yeah, and them getting the Bud Light sponsor, that is brilliant for them. And also a decent beer indeed. But now let's move on. And let's move on to the rival company. They're the big rivals of WWE, AEW, because they, of course, had their new weekly show, AEW Collision, on last night, and it was episode 3 of the show, but MJF made his first appearance on the brand, and he came out to do an open challenge, right? He came out in American attire, of course, in Canada, so you got a lot of boos for that. Quite funny, all of this Canada Day as well, it aired on Canada Day. Perfect timing, all of that good stuff. And he said, I want to face the best person from Hamilton. And then out came a jobber. MJF squashed him. And then he said, well, you know what? Just because of this, I want to face another person who thinks anybody from Hamilton who thinks they can beat me. Come out here. And then out came another jobber. It was so blatantly planned. All of that stuff. And then to, everyone's surprise, Ethan Page came out behind the jobber, pushed the jobber to the side, and then got in the ring with MJF. MJF went to say something. Ethan Page grabbed the mic, took it, and basically cut the promo of his career. And Ethan Page is great on promos, right? That's nothing new. Maybe that's new for AEW because he hasn't had much time there, but he looked great in this segment. In fact, he looked the best that he's looked in AEW because, Ethan Page has been underutilized, and that's not an unpopular opinion. That is fact, right? Ethan Page in AEW has been highly underutilized, and he did great on the mic last night. And then him and MJF had a very solid match. MJF, of course, got the victory in the end. But Clark, give me your thoughts on this.
I just hope that poor second jobber got paid for walking halfway down the ramp. I just hope that he got a check for that. You get all dressed up and then Ethan Page just shoves you like, no, not you, dude. Have a nice evening. Like that was it. That was his job. I guess that's why they call it a jobber. Either way, MJF can do. He's got a gift. He can do almost anything and be entertaining. It's ridiculous. Like I don't want to say half-assed, but like he basically half-assed the entire thing from other than wearing the American flag stuff. He pretty much half-assed the whole segment, and it was arguably the most entertaining segment of the night just because it's MJF. It's pretty remarkable how talented he is. I agree with you on all the Ethan Page stuff, 100%. Yeah, underutilized, not respected enough, too talented to be in the positions he's in. I don't have an issue with him doing almost anything on Collision or Dynamite, but this is a lot of losses, man.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've been joking about the jobbers, and Ethan Page has done a heck of a job jobbing to people in AEW, but we just need to stop doing that. It's unfair to him because at the end of the day, he was never going to outshine MJF, no matter what he said yesterday, and he didn't. It was Max's show, and it still is. He's got the balls in his court.
No, absolutely. You did manage to fit an awful lot of job-related puns in there. Then that did throw me off for a second. But we got Soul in the comments who's saying Ethan Page has sold me as a babyface, and I want him to win a title. He is somebody who's been underrated for years,
who,
right?
Though?
That's a good point, but honestly, to be honest, even as a heel, I wouldn't have mind him being the one to beat Orange Cassidy. That's a hot take, but I've watched Ethan Page for years. I saw him in the North, and I was a big fan of the North. Yeah. And everyone only ever talked about Josh Alexander, and I think Josh Alexander was the better of the two in the ring. But Ethan Page was great in the ring, but he was also phenomenal on the mic. He's done so many different characters.
For a Canadian.
Yeah, oh my gosh. He also had
a jab at Cody.
Oh gosh. But what do you call it? it's a case where he even had that like little like ninja type gimmick or whatever for a little bit, karate gimmick in Impact for a while, and I was like, what is this? And even managed to get that over. So I mean, he's just somebody who's just is very good and can get anything over when he's given a chance. The issue is he hasn't been given that much of a chance in AEW. They had the the Man of the Hour thing, but apart from that, which they kind of didn't really go all in.
That's my problem with the title thing is like, okay, could he be presented in a way where, yeah, he's a believable belt carrier in AEW, and is he that entertaining? Yes, but given the current scenarios, is he going over for the TNT belt or is it the international belt? I don't see him building himself to be the biggest, best threat to end this Cassidy reign, and I don't necessarily see him not getting messed around and having a short reign with a TNT title if they went that route.
Yeah.
The way that we've seen recently, where it would be a couple weeks, maybe in Canada, had they built to that for this run. I don't know. I think he needs to kind of find magic in a bottle and get over organically in a way where he's undeniable for us to fully see what Ethan Page is capable in AEW. And that's not necessarily his fault.
Yeah.
Or even AEW's creative's fault, right? It's just kind of the nature of the beast where they're at. We've talked about bloated roster for months.
But there's no excuse now. They have two major shows. Well, they have two major shows a week plus
got
Rampage.
two major shows. Ethan Page is awesome. There's so many other names in line.
That's true. That is true. It is. It's very bloated. There's a lot of names, but still, he's been loyal to the company. He's done a great job. I truly would start building him up. And I mean, thinking about it now, right, the more we talk about it, have him be one of those, Collision guys. Have him on Collision each week. Build him up, and then perhaps have him, beat Christian or not Christian, not Wardlow, Luchasaurus or Christian, whichever one is actually TNT champion, as I'm still none the wiser on that.
The one that used to tag with Jungle Boy.
Yeah, have him actually win the TNT championship and have a decent, little bit of a long reign with it. I mean, if you can really hold Miro off that long, which to be honest, I think is unlikely. I think it's more likely Miro will take the title off Orange Cassidy. But if you can hold out, 3-4 months before you give Miro a title shot, maybe you have Ethan Page win the title from Luchasaurus in a couple of months, have Ethan Page carry the title for a couple of months, and then have Miro beat Ethan Page for the title. I think that would work as, a face thing. But then again, like you said, there's a lot of people. There is a lot of people who deserve championships in All Elite Wrestling. But now let's quickly move on to another group who I believe deserve titles, and that is Bullet Club Gold. For weeks now, we've been dissing them, calling them, Bullet Club Light or whatever. Let's be real about it. These four guys are killing it, and it is official now. The Guns are in Bullet Club. The promo they cut, the vibe they all have together, it was phenomenal on Collision last night. The Guns cut a brilliant promo as well. Honestly, I think this is the best thing that will ever happen to the Guns being in Bullet Club Gold. I think they'll elevate them to the next level. Jay White is awesome. I just hope they stop 50-50 bucking Bullet Club Gold now. And I hope they really do start pushing them. Jay White, of course, got that win last week. Juice lost last night, but he lost against Ricky Starks, who, they're building up. So I don't think it's going to hurt them that much. But I just hope they start to, buck them right, because I honestly think that these guys could be the next big faction in AEW. And yes, I truly mean that, right? I don't think these guys are Bullet Club Light. Yes, they're not the Bullet Club, but I mean, to be honest with you, this is a lot more interesting than the Bullet Club in Japan at the minute, right? And that's coming from somebody who watches both products. But Ignacio, what do you think about Bullet Club Gold?
Not very much. Don't like it all. Don't like Jay White. Never been a big fan of Jay White. Not a very big fan of his in-ring stuff. I don't think he can carry a good match unless it's somebody who knows how to carry a match. So not a big Jay White fan. Wasn't too excited about him going to AEW. It's waste of money, waste of airfare, to tally it up. Juice Robinson, I think, has a lot of potential because I think he has a lot more character. He's very good in the ring. He's got a good look. He's got personality. He's good on the mic. So I think above all, him more than Jay White or anybody else, probably in that little group, has the most potential. The Guns got a lot. Well, I mean, I'm not counting the Guns. I'm thinking about the guys in Bullet Club in Japan. But you're right about one thing. I think the Bullet Club's kind of lost its luster over the years, ever since the elite left, or even when the elite started over there. I think really the only one that really kind of fit in Bullet Club, marked the timestamp on this one, was probably Kenny Omega, and then Cody didn't really fit in my opinion. Neither did the Buckaroos. So yeah, they kind of just lost their luster ever since the elite took over. But the Guns have a lot of potential. They got a good look, solid in the ring. They sell very similar to like Shawn Michaels, Kurt Hennig style, kind of selling and working. Man, every time I see guys like the Guns, Juice Robinson, Powerhouse Hobbs is another one, Ricky Starks, I should think, man, I can't wait for these guys to go to WWE so they can get their just due, so they can have proper training and proper guidance on how to build your character and character development.
Back up though, guys. Write that down. Ignacio said something positive about Omega.
Yeah, timestamp that. That's just, you're not going to hear anything for a very, very long time. And I'll just make one more comment about something you brought up, because I just don't think very much of the Bullet Club. Is that so? Ethan Page. If Ethan Page was in WWE, he'd be in the LA Knight spot, except he would be getting pushed because he's younger. That's how good I think Ethan Page is.
No, I do agree. I think Ethan Page is awesome, but I 110% disagree about Jay White. I really do. I think Jay White's awesome. I think he's proved it. I think he proved it in Japan. He's had a lot of doubters, but I think he on the mic, he's phenomenal. Yes, his in-ring style is slower, and I don't think it suits AEW, but I think that's AEW's fault. That's not his. I still do think WWE would have been better for him. But now let's move on and talk about two ex-WWE stars in Samoa Joe and Roderick Strong as they took on each other in the Owen Hart tournament last night. And they had a very good match with CM Punk on commentary. David Sheldon, who reviewed the show for us, said it was very ROH style match. And I would have to agree with that statement. In the end, Roderick Strong had to get stretchered out, and Samoa Joe looked very dominant in victory. But Anthony, what did you think of this main event on Collision?
I think it was predictable as anything. You knew they were going Joe and Punk for. You knew that. It's a shame that Roddy, he's such a good talent, as MJF calls him, generic white guy. But, to bring him in with the buzz that they did, and now, really, he hasn't done anything. They stretched him out. Isn't that how he left NXT? I don't fully get the logic here of putting Roddy in this tournament to lose in the first round. I don't understand the logic. I know where they were going with Joe and Punk. I get that. That's the bigger draw. But I wouldn't have had Roddy lose in the first round. I would have changed up the bracket somewhere to have Roddy at least get to the second round.
Fair enough. I mean, I do agree with you there, Anthony, that they haven't done much. They haven't done much with Roderick Strong at all. And it's been we've had the same criticism about a lot of guys who've gone to AEW and who haven't, done much. Admittedly, one excuse that's always been is, well, they don't have enough TV time. Well, they do now. So what is the excuse? In fairness to them, I think they are doing a good job at the minute of developing the homegrown talent, which was criticism I had, 12, 18 months ago about the product. So I think they're doing that, and I think they're setting up the future for themselves quite good. But I think more than anything, this proves the talent that, hey, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And I don't think that's actually, AEW, I don't think AEW should be blamed for that, really. I think in reality, there's always going to be guys who just don't get pushed, because there always needs to be guys. You can't push everybody, right? And that's the unfortunate reality of things. And I think that's a reality which a lot of wrestlers who jump ship did ignore. But that basically brings us to the end of the episode, guys. It was a jam-packed episode. We had to, speed through Collision there at the end. But we will be back tomorrow. And we will be back tomorrow for Mailbag Monday. Same time as today. Go to the Instagram story just after the show to submit some questions for us, and we'll answer them tomorrow. But thank you so much to Clark, Ignacio, and Anthony for joining me here today. It's been a blast, guys, and we will see you tomorrow. Enjoy your evening.